Let's have a conversation with ourselves here. So it's a self-check. We don't do it often enough. Because I mean, the high achiever, we want to serve everybody but ourselves.
Welcome to the Medical Sales Accelerator Podcast. I'm Zed Williamson.
And I'm Clark Wiederhold.
This podcast exists to put scale to the value you get from those great one-to-one conversations you typically find at sales meetings and conferences.
Professional. It might look different than you think.
And that's why we're speaking with our guest today, Becca Kinney. After working in healthcare for over 16 years, Becca has realized sometimes it's better to be less polished and your success will actually soar. Becca, it's so good to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, Becca, I'm willing to bet there was an inflection point in your career where you just had this thought, why don't I just be more myself? Am I wrong?
No, you are right on point. I was walking through so many motions, and I think whenever somebody starts in medical sales, they're nervous, right? So at first, we're going to say and do all the things. I remember when I first started as a rep, they're like, Becca, your job right now is to shake hands and kiss babies. And I'm like, okay, I'm not kissing anything in an OR, first of all. But okay. So the first few years was really just getting core competencies down to be able to even present or be forward facing to a surgeon or to an operating room. It took figuring it out for a bit. But then after that, it was like, holy cow, wow, who am I? Who is this person that's pitching and talking? Because it looks more like a robot or a tired mom than a sales rep that is awesome.
That's interesting. So you had a self-reflection where you witnessed that you weren't being you.
I did.
Was there a single thing that really jumped out at you? Like, I am doing this thing that is not me, or was it an overall feeling?
It was an overall feeling. And I think that, over time, I felt that some of my efforts, you can drive 3 hours each way to an in-service, and then all of a sudden there's 2 people there, and really they showed up for the donuts you brought. And it's like, holy crap. I took so much time and energy to put this together, and who is actually hearing it and how am I delivering it? So that is actually why I turned to LinkedIn to start sharing what it is I create and the education and knowledge base I have to express that to more people.
It feels like what you are witnessing was, this may sound a little woo-woo, but being out of balance. Like, here's the effort, here's the time, here's the donuts, and here's 2 people. What the hell am I doing this for?
Yeah. What the hell am I doing this for? And then, as we all know, being in medical sales, comp plans change, therefore motivation levels change. And as all of that fluctuates, then you really ask the big question, is the grass greener working for another organization? Is this me? And I kind of had to have a moment and say, yeah, it is me. Because it doesn't matter what company you go to, the standards are always going to be high, and medical sales is always going to be intense. So what am I actually bringing to the table was a serious question I had to ask myself.
As you had that self-reflection and you looked inward, right? You looked in the mirror. What did you decide to change? Like, what shift did you make to that had an impact on your business?
Honestly, this is the woo-woo stuff you're talking about, right? I had a moment where I said, when was the last time I worked on myself? I've done a great job working on managing a quota and hitting quota for a company. I've done a great job at going through the motions and doing all the things I'm supposed to do to be successful. But what about how I actually feel? At that point, I was not very healthy. I was eating unhealthy. I wasn't working out. I wasn't taking care of me, because all I knew how to do was take care of a quota and hope to hit President's Club. Woo, let's go. And then what do you get for President's Club? A gold star. Congratulations. That looks good on your resume. Can you do it again? Because we just increased your quota by 15%. Good luck. And then I realized, like, what is fruitful about this? What am I doing this for? To make an impact. How can I do that? I have to reach more people. I have to reach inside of myself to do that.
I have no idea if anyone's going to remember this or ever saw the movie, but what jumps out at me is the scene from a Steve Martin movie called Parenthood. I don't know if you've seen it,
Ooh,
but he's an architect and he's leaving his house late at night. The kids are going crazy all over the house. And his wife goes, "Do you have to?" And he kind of, in a yelling, kind of like frustrated way, "Everything I do is a have to." And that's kind of, for some reason, that scene just jumped into my head listening to you talk, where you had that realization of, what I'm doing this for out there, but I'm not doing anything for in here.
right. And I mean, that is a really, really great reference point. I wouldn't have even thought of it, but so good, because I can actually picture it, the disheveled, Steve Martin saying, "Must do it." And I think so often we think we have to do something, but do we? Like when we're asked to do something we don't have to do, or is outside of our scope of work, we feel we must because it's part of the job. They'll replace me. Oh no. But is that true? Well, if you're doing your job and you're working towards your quota and you have a game plan, it's probably not actually true.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has a true have to. We trick ourselves into believing that we have tos. Everything is a choose to, right?
Yep. Yep.
It feels a bit like you were doing a lot of work for work's sake, or, any of the analogies you could throw out there around that, right? You weren't necessarily focused in on, one, what's going to have me healthy so that I can perform at an optimal level. It was always outwardly focused. And then two, just a lot of efforts taking place because you felt like you had to, not because you felt like it was going to be the lever with the most impact.
Right. And impact, can it happen if there's no oomph behind it? I mean, really, it can't. It's just going through the motions. And
Yeah.
in my most recent newsletter I wrote, I referred to it as going around the Monopoly board and passing go. But you would rather have somebody send you to jail, because in jail, at least you can get a little bit of reprieve. So
Right.
but you still had to pass go again, right? And it just becomes this game of how many hospitals can I work with? How many new clients can I get? How many acquisitions can I get? Can I get a new RFP on the table for next year? It becomes this game that isn't even reality. It's like, oh, what's bigger and what's better and what's next? And I think that is something we all do as people that want to be successful, right? High achievers are typically sales reps. High achievers work in medical sales. So we never want to stop. We never ever want to stop. We're like, all right, what's next? Bring it on. And we don't go, oh crap, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm not okay. We don't do that enough.
Right. So let me ask this. So you started to have this understanding about yourself, looking inward. And once you made a change, all your business went to total crap, right? I mean, you just total failure after that, right?
No. In fact, it was quite the opposite, as I'm sure you would assume. When I stopped and took a moment to say, holy crap, what am I doing here? I'm not making a positive impact anywhere because I'm spread so thin. I decided, let's focus on the things that really matter. And when I did that, I mean, my largest hospitals I worked with, those accounts started to soar. We started to add new categories of business in. People, they said, whoa, what's changed? And I had a few life events that helped that transition happen. I did a medical mission to Africa. I had a few life-changing events in my own personal life happen that said, okay, it's time to pour some gasoline on this fire, people, and light it up. Let's roll. And it changed everything. It really did.
I think of efficiency or gas mileage. That's what comes in my mind, where you were running an inefficient engine. You were getting poor gas mileage before. And when you made the switch and you understood what it meant for you to live in your authentic self, you actually got more energy and then applied it more efficiently with an engine that got better gas mileage. Is that kind of a weird way to think about it, or is that?
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to think about it. But what I would also say is, before, it felt like there were all the components of a car, right? You had everything there. You had the engine block, you had the structure of the car, you have everything built out. It looks pretty. And you never even turn the ignition key to see if it would start.
Mm.
You're just like, cool, nice car, bro. That's pretty. I want to go for a ride in that. But then you never even turned the car on. You just sat in the thing and waited for somebody to tell you how to turn the ignition key, as if you didn't learn in driver's ed. You turn the key to start the car. It was just stagnant. And I don't know how many reps. Don't you think there's probably a lot of reps out there that are just, they have a boss that told them what car they're going to sit in, and they go and they sit in it.
I think you've got a lot of people right now that are trying to find the healthy dichotomy, right? The balance between, because we're throwing some terms out there, self-care and all these things that are out there, the woo-woo stuff you guys started talking about. It's all important. I mean, if you don't take care of your proverbial car, it's going to shut down and the engine is going to lock up, right? So they're looking for, how do I do that and increase productivity for the things that matter? Because I'm willing to bet you're not telling people not to work hard. I'm guessing that's not your message.
No.
So there are people listening that they're not picking up on that. They don't know where that marker is. So like, lay out some guidelines for people to know, look, you're not looking for production here. You're just taking time off. And I don't mean like vacation. You're not working, right? Versus you're taking care of yourself so you can be maximal impact for your mission that you're working on tomorrow and the next day. Like, where's that line? Because I know I have conversations with folks that are struggling with what's the happy medium.
Yeah, I think that, I hate the term work personal life balance, because I feel like it's been so blown out of proportion. But it's freaking true, right? We hit a point where it's like, honestly, we're good at working, right? We're good at it. It's why we got into medical sales. We are good at putting our head in the dirt and going balls to the wall all day, every day, as many miles as we need to go. But we're not good at pulling our head out of the sand and saying, holy crap, this is a beautiful scenery around me. Like, look at this. Like, I've driven to this hospital 72 times and I never noticed X, Y, and Z on the right-hand side. So I think it's more just raising your level of self-awareness and taking a second to do like a check-in. Whoa, how am I doing really? Like, if that gut instinct says I kind of suck right now, you have to listen to it and say, what am I going to do different or better? I mean, we wouldn't walk into a hospital with dirty instruments and expect a surgeon to use them. So why do we walk into a hospital with a whole bunch of baggage, showing up crappy, not ready to perform, and expect them to want to use us as their vendor? Doesn't make any sense, right? So you have to take a second, take a beat. And if that's not possible, take a look at the bigger picture. Is this where I should be? Is this career path right for me? Because I think it comes down to, am I serving this organization and are they serving me? Is this a win-win? Not, am I making great money? Because medical sales, typically we do, right? We make great money. But at some point, is the money worth the wear down? That's a real question.
That's a good one. That's a good one to ask.
Yeah. What would your future self say about today?
Yeah. And I think one of the coolest things I've ever heard is, it's like a personal development task per se, is if you died today and somebody wrote your eulogy, what would it say about you? Or write your own eulogy as you would want it to read and work towards living that out. And that's kind of a cool one. It's like,
it is.
Ooh, because if I had written my eulogy at that time, it would have been like, Becca works a lot. She makes good money. The end. Good talk, guys. Great impact. Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Oh, and President's Club. Let's put that in there too. Yeah. So I think it comes down to, how do we take a moment as professionals to unravel, to start to dissect the parts of our life that could be better, and In fact, that's why I created a newsletter called Unraveled. And honestly, it hit me out of nowhere. And I was like, I don't even know if anyone's going to read this thing, but I'm going to put it out there. And it's picked up some traction. And we started it in January. And we have covered topics like how to express yourself using words, how to still be a great business professional when your life isn't great, how to express your voice, like topics that we don't really talk about, we just go through. So rather than going through the motions, let's dissect how in these moments when we're not our best, we could be a little bit better.
What's the most surprising feedback that you've got since releasing that newsletter?
I don't know if I would be surprised, because I'm just kind of all the way myself, owning my own business now. Since I stepped away from medical sales and into my own business, I finally completed my tattoo sleeve. I finally am spending more time on the Harley. I'm like getting some fresh air. I'm loving it. And the biggest thing I'm learning is that the more I chill the crap out, the cooler life gets. Because I was kind of uptight. In fact, really, really uptight, like for a long, long time. And I still find myself falling back into those ways. So it's a constant check-in. Like, whoa, am I being that uptight person again? Or am I being freaking awesome right now? Well, a lot of times I'm not freaking awesome. But I find that even on my LinkedIn platform, I'll share those days when I'm not awesome. And people are like, okay, we're pretty sure Becca's going through a midlife crisis here. She quit her medical sales job. She got a full tattoo sleeve, and she's talking about her dead parents. Did she lose it? Oh my gosh. I think she's gone off her rocker, y'all. But you speak it, you speak the truth, you share it, and it has been incredible how many people go, oh, me too, Becca, me too. I'm there right now. I'm going through it. And I say, what? Together we are.
Rarely are you the only one going through some experience, right? So there is power in just understanding that you're not alone, and that there are other people struggling with the same struggles, frustrated with the same frustrations, just dealing with the same obstacles.
And I think too, it's okay to take the path less traveled, right? So often we say this is how it should go. I don't know how many people you've interviewed on this podcast where where this conversation is wooey and personal development-y. Probably not a lot. So thank you for having me.
Of course.
But the truth is, it's something we all need. We all need that pause, take a moment of self-expression. And it's okay to share those moments that helped us grow, because it might help someone else.
So I know that there's people listening right now, and they're a high performance person, and they're going, okay, I want to start pausing. How do I do it? What's the checklist? How often should I do it? When should I do it? They're going to try to apply their high performance to this world. Mm-hmm. What do you tell someone who they really are curious? Okay, I get it. I don't know how to move in that direction. What is a little nudge that's helpful?
I would say on a personal level, what truly started to serve me the most is just taking that time every single day to say, I'm going to work on me. Even if it's for 10 to 15 minutes, or even if we are all driving to account hospitals. Well, what are we putting into our ears while we're driving to those hospitals? What are we filling our minds with? When we're online and social media, are we consuming information that serves? Are we consuming information that is tearing us down? So I think it's truly just raising your level of self-awareness to how am I feeling? There's not a checklist to being awesome. The checklist to being awesome is you pause for a second. You say, whoa, hi, me. It's nice to meet you. Good to see you again. Let's take a minute. Let's write it down. Let's have a conversation with ourselves here. So it's a self-check. We don't do it often enough. Because the high achiever, we want to serve everybody but ourselves. So if somebody says, hey, how you doing today? Well, I'm pretty sure you're going to sit up a little straighter in your chair and go, I'm great, Mr. Surgeon. How are you today? How can I serve you? And all day long, how can I help you? How can I serve you? How can I help you? How can I serve you? What about how can you serve yourself for a hot second? And just, even if it's short and quick and just a tiny little minute, it can make a big difference.
There was personally, there was a point where I was definitely a workaholic, and it was, if I was awake, I should be working. If I wasn't working, then I was failing something.
Uh-huh.
And I remember telling my son that I couldn't play catch with him right now, but I would a little bit later. And that really, I heard myself say it. And so that was the helpful moment for me where I went, wait a second, what is the future self? 10 years from now, am I going to go, I sure am glad I told him I didn't want to play catch. No, there's no way in hell. Right.
Yep.
But in the moment, we tell ourselves these goofy things. And then we give ourselves this weird scenario where we only allow allow full choice. So I either am high performance or this, and that's not the case. You can be both.
Right. And that was actually the title of one of my newsletters. Isn't even a word. It's called Fun-ish. I am having fun, but I am not really here. I'm not really with it. Because we become so motion-like and going through the motions and checking the list. Like you said, people listening to this podcast probably want a roadmap to the success. The roadmap is we have to open our eyes and stop, because you won't ever regret stopping to play ball with your kid.
Right.
And that was part of the reason why I built my own business, because I realized when my daughter was about 5, I'm like, I am missing this. I am missing her grow up. I am missing these moments. And when she does want to play, I'm too tired. I'm like, baby, it's bedtime. Because once you go to sleep, I can actually have a minute today after 14 hours in hospitals and dinner and bath time and reading. It was time for me to finally have a second, but then I was too exhausted to even think about taking care of me. So it just becomes this cycle. So the question is, how do we break that cycle? We keep working on it. We keep unraveling every day. We keep breaking it down. We keep checking in with ourselves to say, how am I? Because we can ask everyone. It's really, really easy. I had a girlfriend the other day. We finished a call and we were talking about business development, what we were working on for our clients. She's like, Becca, what can I do for you? And I was like, nothing. We can bounce ideas off of each other. And I was like, what can I do for you? She's like, I hate it when people ask me that. But isn't it true? Like, we're so quick to offer help to somebody else. But like, how quick are we to offer help to ourselves? I don't know. We're probably not as good at it.
It tends to take a lot more effort.
It does. Because then we have to say things like, hi, my name is Becca. I'm a workaholic. I've been a medical sales rep for 8 years, and I haven't slept more than 6 hours in 5 of those 8 years. I've gained 30 pounds because I ate at Taco Bell 3 times this week, and I kind of suck right now. It would be like writing that letter to yourself. But if we're really honest, that's where I was at. Like, you worked 14 hours, drove 3 hours to the hotel, and you ordered a Domino's pizza and ate 3/4 of it yourself. What? Oh my gosh. How did I just do that? And I think it's on repeat instead of stopping.
Yep. Taco Bell was my road go-to also.
Yeah. How about you, Clark? You're the healthy one, huh? You went to the gym instead and you bought a side salad, didn't you?
I wish.
Salad.
Oh.
There was a point in time where if I passed a McDonald's and it was after, like, I don't know, 8:30 and I'm at night and I'm on the road to be somewhere else for the next morning, my car just pulled over and got a 10-piece nugget regardless. And they're not even that good, but God, I would crush it. Yep.
But you just did it.
Becca, I think this is an important conversation, and it's one of these ones where it is hard to put a to-do list against, and it is hard to try to make changes, because changes may not feel like they're purposeful changes. It's more of a realization and an understanding. And I know that we tell ourselves lies because we will say things like, well, that would be important if this, but this. We try to create this level of comfort because it actually can feel comfortable that we're uncomfortable. And it actually can feel more uncomfortable to have this idea of being comfortable. So it's a good topic. And I reached out to you because I saw that first newsletter you put out. So I appreciate the content that you put on that newsletter. And I think it's really powerful stuff.
Thank you so much.
The point you brought up about being present, to me, feels extremely relevant. I don't remember where I got this or where it sort of resonated with me, but at some point in my career and life and trying to do the things you were talking about, like, man, do I even like the way I am right now? Like all of the things we've discussed. And it boiled down to this: allowing myself, and I'm better at it at certain times than others, to release of all of the things I know I quote unquote need to do from a work and professional perspective while I'm doing something else, and just let myself be there without all the mental distraction at the time. And if I can just enjoy that moment for 30 minutes, for a weekend, for 2 hours, whatever it may be, I always find myself sharper and ready to kick ass and be more awesome professionally because I was awesome personally. And it's just this mental disconnect of, all right, I'm turning that off for a moment and I'm going to allow myself to be free from the mental baggage. And that's just for me internally, right? Of all of the things I know I still need to do. I'm curious if that resonates with you, with a lot of the work you've been doing and the people that you're having conversations with or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think one of the hardest things for a high performer to do is stop.
Yeah.
And close the windows, like all the tabs at the top of your computer.
Exactly.
It's actually like a very large task for me to shut out everything and focus on one. But, and I'd even made a post the other day on social media when I was struggling, and it was incredible because so many people jumped in with amazing advice. And I think it's crazy because how often do we know what we need to do? And how often would it only take a second to like get up from this desk right now, walk up the hill, walk back down, take a big exhale, and I'd probably be way more awesome. But we don't do it. Instead, we'll sit here for 2.5 hours thinking about how bad we suck today. But we all do it. It's the human natural inclination of like, how can we be more present? How can we be a little bit better than before? And I think it's that compound interest thing. It's the same as building an audience online, right? Like how can your consistency in improving who you are, one little bit at a time, compound over time to allow you more bandwidth to be? And it's hard to do. And there's not a roadmap. And I think that's the hardest part because we all want, like, I want one of those 12 personal development books over there on my shelf to tell me, Becca, you need to wake up at 6:02 a.m. And from 6:02 to 6:17, you do X, Y, and Z. And from this time, but we're human. So for each of us, the recipe looks different. But I do know that all of us need more self-check, more check-in moments, more, am I awesome right now or do I suck right now moments? Because really, at the end of the day, we work in healthcare, serving the patients on the table is the end game. So we could talk strategy all day. We could talk sales process all day. We could talk scaling. We could talk numbers. We could talk quotas. We could have every conversation you guys have already had on this podcast. And at the end of the day, maybe still feel like our cup is empty. And maybe not be able to perform, even though we know all the things we have to do to perform. We've been doing it forever, right? So, like, your performance will enhance as you do.
Becca, I really appreciate you taking the time and joining us today. This has been an awesome episode. If someone wants to find you on LinkedIn, your name on LinkedIn is Rebecca Kinney, and we will put the link to your LinkedIn in the show notes for easy access. And what I would suggest to all the listeners is go and subscribe to the newsletter. It's a powerful piece, and it's healthy. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. You're awesome.
Thank you. So if you're out there, visit medicalsalesaccelerator.com. When you're there, download a resource that helps you communicate better with your customers. You can sign up for our newsletter to find out about upcoming episodes, and you can also suggest guests and topics for us to have on the show.
If you found value in today's episode, do a few things for me. Subscribe to the podcast, leave us some stars and a review. You know we love the stars. And please send this episode to your friends, your colleagues, your mama and your daddy. We greatly appreciate it. Becca, enjoy that next Harley ride. Make it a great week, everybody.